good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're listening to the Thai Expat Daily Show. I'm your host Kieran Mack and thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like this video if you're watching us on YouTube and please do subscribe. We're also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music and a host of other podcast players. Now that that's all done, let's jump into today's show. Well, hello there and welcome back to the Thai Expat Daily Show. I'm your host Kieran Mack and today is Saturday, the 30th of April 2022. Now before we start today's show, don't forget to like this video and please do subscribe. And now let's jump into the first story of the day. Diesel price cap to rise on Sunday. The committee managing the Oil Fuel Fund yesterday approved a proposal to raise the diesel price cap from 30 baht per litre to 32 baht from Sunday, prompting a transport association to threaten to raise their service fees by 20%. As well as raising the price cap, the Energy Ministry, Oil Fuel Fund Office and other organisations will keep a close watch on global oil prices and make a weekly assessment on whether the price cap needs to be raised further, Energy Permanent Secretary Kulit Sambatsari said. If so, the diesel cap will climb no more than 1 baht a week, while the new ceiling of the price cap will become 35 baht per litre despite the actual price of diesel already being well over 40 baht per litre, he said. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha meanwhile implored people to understand the need to raise the diesel price cap, government spokesman Thanakorn Wambungkanchana said. General Prayut admitted the government has already used up tens of billions of baht from the oil fund to subsidise diesel prices over the past few months. Loans sought previously to also subsidise diesel prices have already been used up as well, said General Prayut, adding that the government has been dedicating resources to supporting the diesel price subsidy because it is a major cost of consumer products and services. A source at the North Eastern Transport Association said the association, which has more than 700 cargo transport companies as members operating more than 10,000 trucks, now plans to raise cargo transport fees by 20% in order to cope with the expected jump in fuel costs. And moving along, travel subsidy scheme to be extended by authorities. The remaining 4 billion baht budget for the hotel subsidy scheme, We Travel Together, is enough for a new phase offering 1 million room nights, according to authorities, and the less popular campaign Teaw Thai will be extended until the end of the year. Tourism Authority of Thailand Governor Yuttasak Supasorn said that after talks with domestic tourism operators this week, the agency will ask the National Economic and Social Development Council to extend the two stimulus programs. The fourth phase of We Travel Together ends in May and has recorded average traveller spending of only 1,200 baht per night out of a maximum of 3,000 baht. Total expenditure from this phase was 8.4 billion baht, of which 7.1 billion was for hotel rooms, 1.25 billion baht for food and drinks via vouchers and the remainder for air tickets. The remaining budget from this phase will enable TAT to implement a fifth phase without asking for a new budget, said Mr. Yuttasak. However, the agency will also maintain vouchers and airfares embedded in We Travel Together as small businesses, particularly shops and restaurants, can benefit from the programme. Mr. Yuttasak said TAT will ask hotel operators to help give a 50% discount for an additional 1 million room nights. If hotels agree, there could be 2 million room nights in total for the fifth phase of We Travel Together. However, discounts from hotels will not include flight and voucher redemption. Meanwhile, the tour subsidy programme, which ends in April, still has 131,415 remaining privileges, prompting tour operators to ask for an extension until the end of the year. A few modifications to the Teaw Thai have been proposed, such as allowing tourists to purchase 3 packages from only 1 in the current phase, and resetting the quota for companies that have already sold 1,000 packages, which was the maximum set for each company. There are expected to be 52.7 million domestic trips in the first half of this year, generating 240 billion baht. Mr. Yuttasak said the stimulus extension are essential to encourage an additional 107 million domestic trips, contributing 415 billion baht in the second half. The Tourism and Sports Ministry's target for 2022 is 160 million domestic trips, generating 656 billion baht. As we still have to face economic challenges from soaring commodity and fuel prices, as well as tourism policies from other countries that are starting to lure Thai travellers, the subsidy campaign should be prolonged to support purchasing power, said Mr. Yuttasak. Now, just if anybody's wondering about this We Travel Together programme, This is for Thai citizens only, and what it does is the government pay 40% of the room rate and the Thai citizen pays the remaining 60%. It has proven to be quite popular around the Thai holidays such as Songkran, Labour Weekend, or any of these holidays that the government have actually created over the last couple of years to try and spur more people taking trips domestically here in the country. But however, there has been some complaints where people have basically said that maybe this money could be put to better use to support poor people who basically have nothing and are in need of food, clothes and accommodation. I mean, in essence, what they're doing is they're paying for people to go on vacation around the country. For me, I am kind of sit on both sides of the fence on this. I understand the need for hotels to have business so they can pay their staff, but then also there is the need for poor people to be looked after, and especially during this pandemic where we saw the help from the government was practically nothing and handouts of only a couple of hundred baht here and there, which basically would do nothing for people. But again, every country I suppose that I've kind of researched over the last 2 years have had some form of travel subsidy to kind of spur domestic tourism, and Thailand's no different. However, it has been going on a bit too long with 2 years, and now this with the 5th stage will be dragging it on to 2.5 years. But yeah, it seems to be the way it is here at the moment. But nevertheless, we'll move on to the next story, which is all about the fee that we spoke about, the tourism fee that we spoke about 6 to 8 months ago. Well, that tourism fee now is back and is about to make its entrance onto the market. Tourism fee of 300 baht set for Q3. The 300 baht tourism fee is scheduled to begin being collected between August and September this year using the Thailand Tourism Fee (TTF) system implemented by airlines. Airlines raised concerns about the budget for the system and manpower to handle the process, as they are still struggling with the pandemic impact and weak passenger flows. The tourism fee is in line with the revised National Tourism Policy Act of 2008, which granted permission to set up the fund from the fees collected from foreign visitors. The fund will be used to develop tourist sites and offer tourist insurance, said Chochi Chachu, Permanent Secretary of the Tourism and Sports Ministry. He said the fee is meant to help tourists in case of emergency, such as a sudden sickness, accident or political unrest while travelling in Thailand. Now, the Assistant Tourism Permanent Secretary said the TTF system will integrate with airlines' websites to display an additional screen for fee collection for foreign passport holders. People exempt from the tourism fee collection include diplomats, government officials, people with work permits from nationalities under a Memorandum of Understanding with Thailand, and children under 2 years old. Speaking at a meeting with airlines on Thursday, Mr. Mongkong said airlines must help screen tourists who pay the fee before issuing tickets, submitting the final passenger manifest to the data link 15 minutes after the flight takes off. The TTF system activates 30-day insurance coverage for tourists once they arrive. He said local and international airlines are invited to register for the experimental process starting May 2nd. Mr. Mongkong said the ministry will offer a training program on the TTF system and perform test runs on the system after the fee collection is published in the Royal Gazette. Airlines must prepare software to connect with the TTF system and communicate with tourists to educate them about the new fee, he said. The fee is imposed on air travellers first, before expansion to other forms of transport in the near future. One airline representative, who requested anonymity, said airlines must focus on the recovery process by boosting frequencies to Thailand, especially after further rules relaxation on May 1. This new system and fee responsibility will require airlines to use resources to work with the TTF system, said the source. Each country may also have a different policy regarding the Personal Data Protection Act, creating practical challenges to airlines. The ministry is urged to provide more clarification on the insurance policy provided, such as the minimum and maximum coverage for tourists, injury or fatality, said the source. So there you go, the government have decided to implement the 300 baht tourist fee starting the end of this year, whenever it was they said. Now, what I do find interesting is that the price of the oil is rising. Airlines are putting the price of tickets up to Thailand. I've seen huge increases in the price of flights. And the government have now decided, in the midst of all this, that they need to start taking a tourist fee so they can pay for parks to have better toilets and they can dish out some money to struggling businesses and provide insurance to tourists who are coming to Thailand. It seems very complicated, and it looks like the airlines are getting a little bit worried by it. Now, they may say it's 300 baht, but let's be a lot more realistic in this. 300 baht will turn into a couple of thousand baht eventually, because what's going to happen here is the airlines now have to develop new software, new ways to link to this system that the Thai government has created. Now, let's all be honest. Any cost that the airlines incur, paying for software, personnel, extra people on site to screen on arrival, on departure, whatever it may be, those costs will be passed on to you, us, the consumer, the traveller. So 300 baht, it is not. It's going to be a lot more expensive. And I'm sure the way the Thai government have it set up, it'll be absolutely disastrous. This is really the wrong time for any kind of extra fee onto airline tickets, increasing the cost of a holiday, no matter how much it increases a holiday. As I said, 300 baht won't be 300 baht when the airline's finished with it. It'll be a lot more, and it'll be tacking on more to the price of your flight, where flights already right now are heading upwards. It's as if the government are completely out of tune with what is going on around the world. More and more countries are reducing fees, trying to get people to come to their countries, and are trying to build back their tourism industry, give people a reason to come to the country. But yet this government seem hell-bent on, in my estimation, making another cash grab, how much we can get from this. The insurance, I think, actually is a good idea, if you actually get a benefit out of it. And I really wonder whether there'll be a benefit. Now, what this article says is that once you get on that plane, you automatically fly, you get 30 days insurance. Well, what is the maximum and minimum benefits? What are you covered for? If the government are going to be taking money off you and saying it's for some kind of insurance and this, that and the other, where all this money is going needs to be laid out in front of people. But I'm sure whoever's on this committee, after a year or so, will have new Mercedes, nice BMWs, living the good life, and the fund will have disappeared into oblivion. By the way, there is already taxes and entry fees and exit fees of about 800 or 900 baht on ticket prices coming to Thailand and leaving Thailand. So this is just more money. And everyone would love to know, I guess, where the money that they take already as the tourism tax goes to. Nobody knows. Somebody's pocket, I would presume. But yet again, this is the wrong time to do this and badly thought out by the Thai government. But I'd love to know your opinion about it. Do you agree with this kind of tourism tax? Do you think it's the right time? Is it the wrong time? Should they postpone it to sometime next year or the year after that when tourism starts to pick up? The war in Ukraine is at least finished, or we have some stabilization in the prices of fuel around the world. Airline tickets kind of, par out. I'd love to know your opinion, as always, guys, down below in that comment section. And moving along, Thailand Pass stays, but in faster form. The government has said it has not cancelled the Thailand Pass registration requirement for foreign travellers yet, but it will be made more convenient and quicker to obtain. Dr. Sumini Vasharasinth, assistant spokeswoman for the Centre for COVID-19 Situation Administration, said the requirement will be retained, but the procedure will be streamlined for smoother ease of entry into the country. The procedure involves checking vaccine certificates, proof of hotel booking, insurance documents, and other documents for booking RT-PCR tests upon arrival, Dr. Sumini said, who also serves as Director of the Department of Disease Control, Risk Communication, and Health Behavioural Development Bureau. However, from May 1, the Test and Go entry scheme will be cancelled without any need for booking for alternative quarantine hotels and RT-PCR tests, which will facilitate faster Thailand Pass registration, she said. Vaccination certificates take less time to check than bookings, Dr. Sumini said. Therefore, Thailand Pass registration has remained in place and there should be no problem from May 1, but the CCSA will monitor the situation regularly. If the situation improves, a further easing of entry rules is expected to follow, she said. Deputy Prime Minister and Public Health Minister Anathan Sharvakul earlier said the government will consider when they will scrap antigen testing and Thailand Pass registration requirements for foreign visitors after the Test and Go entry scheme and RT-PCR test upon arrival are cancelled next month. From May 1, fully vaccinated visitors will not be tested for COVID-19 upon arrival. They will be urged to self-test with antigen test kits during their stay. Vaccinated travellers must register for entry via Thailand Pass and present proof of vaccination. If they test positive, they can enter their COVID-19 insurance process or take care of their own treatment. Unvaccinated travellers will be welcomed if they present proof of a negative RT-PCR test no more than 72 hours before their trip and register via Thailand Pass. They will be allowed entry without the need for COVID-19 testing, as in the case of vaccinated travellers. High-risk visitors will be quarantined for 5 days. Now, I just want to clarify the bottom of this, because this has been going on all week and it's not being clarified by one media outlet in Thailand. They keep quoting the minister, Anathan Sharvakul, the Minister of Public Health. He keeps going on about antigen testing on arrival. To be clear, there is no ATK rapid antigen testing on arrival. You only have to test if you have symptoms of COVID. That is the only time you have to test with an ATK. Now, this has been going all week in the Bangkok Post, The Nation, and other media outlets. They're quoting this guy without actually writing down a remark at the end to say, by the way, you don't actually need the rapid antigen test on arrival. There is none. It's only if you have symptoms that you're meant to do it. I have no idea why the media continue to do this because it's causing such confusion amongst people. Now, there is a very, very good diagram that was published by the Civil Aviation Authority of Thailand. I may put it on my website tomorrow or the next day. It shows the flow chart of what you need to do and the process. Very easy. Not much to it. But yet again, if you were to listen to the Minister of Public Health here, you'd probably, pull your hair out. Another thing he was talking about 2 days ago, by the way, was that everybody entering Thailand would have to get these yellow World Health Organization vaccine passports. More nonsense. Who on earth would be going around doing that when we all have digital certificates on our phones? Or a paper version. I mean, just the nonsense. Sometimes I wish that somebody would just get these guys to stop talking because they do more harm than good most of the time. Now, the Thailand Pass, it's going to be quicker, faster, smoother. It's going to be the Thailand Pass 8.9 version. No. So let me tell you what's happened. The Thailand Pass now is open for people to register online. So I did a quick run through of it this morning, did a fake booking and all that. So page 1, fill out your passport details. Page 2 is upload your vaccination status. So again, you have to put your vaccine certificate, and if you QR code, you can put that on it too. It makes it quicker, I think. Stage 3 is you have to input where you're going to stay in Thailand, but it doesn't ask you for uploading the document of where you're going to stay unless you are entering quarantine because you're unvaccinated or something like that. And step 4 or page 4 on it is to upload your insurance certificate. But interesting enough, it has, when you enter that page, it asks you, do you have insurance? If not, you can purchase it here, and they have a button that takes you to a website where you can purchase travel insurance. But otherwise, just upload your certificate onto their website and then click send. Now, but what has been happening to people? Well, after that, people have been getting a confirmation number. This is your unique number where you can go back in and check the status of your application. Well, what happened to many, many people, and shame on the Thai government yet again, is that when they put that number in and they look up their booking, they're seeing other people's information, other people's passport numbers, telephone number, addresses, email addresses, all kinds of information. All the stuff that you've uploaded is available to see if you were to go on there. Somebody else's information, not yours. I was contacted this morning by 3 people through my Twitter page, and then I went into the Thailand Pass community on Twitter, and there's hundreds of people it's been happening to. And yet again, the Thai government have shown their inability to even care about foreigners' data. They don't care. They really don't care. Obviously, the system wasn't tested before they released it, to the public to use. And it's yet again just shows you how little they care about our data and what must be happening into it. I mean, we've all heard of we getting emails and text messages and calls from various places, and you're wondering, how did they get my information? I would presume from somebody within the Thailand Pass at this stage. It's just so badly developed and implemented. But nevertheless, I'm sure after 2 or 3 weeks, the system will be working perfectly fine yet again. I've yet to hear back if anybody got their Thailand Pass, how long it did take to get. If you're one of those people who is listening to the show right now, have applied and got your Thailand Pass since midnight last night, please let us know how long it took to do it. I'd love to know and start to gauge the timeline for this. They say it's not meant to take too long, but who knows? We'll find out in the next couple of days. And of course, as we find out, we'll report back to you any and other things that have been going on with it. But just a little bit of information about that and other things to do with the Thailand Pass. And now we're going to move on to our next story of the day. Thailand upgrades rolling stock with Chinese-made Ultraman locomotives. The State Railway of Thailand, SRT, has started testing its new fleet of electro-diesel Ultraman trains before they are deployed across the country. A test run was conducted yesterday for the trains, named after Japanese superhero Ultraman, for their colour scheme between Bangkok's Bansu Station, Chachosangsao. A second test will commence next month from Chonburi's Sirasha Junction to Bangkok's Lat Krabang district. The State Railway of Thailand is confident that the new diesel-electric locomotives help increase the efficiency of service to the people, SRT spokesperson Ekarat C. Akayampong said. Made by CRC of China, 20 of the locomotives arrived this week, with 30 more due by early next year in a deal reportedly worth 6.2 billion Thai baht, or roughly $181 million. The debt-saddled state enterprise operates very few freight operations, something it hopes to increase in the coming years. Most of its locomotives were built in the 80s and 90s and were only capable of roughly 2,500 horsepower. The new locomotives have 3,263 horsepower and can tow 550 tons at up to 120 km per hour. That speed drops to 70 km per hour for fully loaded cargo trains. They will be used to replace aging stock for both freight and passenger uses for long distance routes, including links between the capital and Chiang Mai, Nong Khai and the Deep South. And finally, the Phuket News Daily Report. Tourism Minister presents Patong Bay Hill Resort with COVID Prevention Award. The Tourism Minister, Piapat Ratchapakarn, has presented the Patong Bay Hill an award for receiving the GBAC Star International Hygiene Standard Certificate issued to operators who uphold the highest standards of the outbreak prevention, response and recovery measures for facilities. And just to clarify, that is the hotel that was shut down for breach of COVID-19 regulations. Next up, Phuket drug raids land 9 kilo of ice, more than 54,000 meth pills. Police have seized more than 9 kilograms of crystal meth and more than 54,000 methamphetamine pills in separate raids in Shillong and Cherntalay. Phuket BMW driver to be fined for obstructing ambulance. The driver of a BMW who refused to pull over to let an ambulance through in Phuket town will be summoned to be fined for breach of the Traffic Act, Phuket City Police Chief Sarawut Chuprasarit has confirmed. DSI chief inspects claims to 50 billion Phuket beachfront land. The Director General of the Department of Special Investigations, that's the DSI, today inspected 178 rai of beachfront land at Leon Beach with an estimated value of about 50 billion baht that has remained occupied by claimants despite an order by the Supreme Court to vacate their plots. And finally, Phuket road accidents black spots identified. 2 intersections have been marked for road safety improvements following a review of traffic accident black spots across the island. But ultimately, with this story or anything else that stood out to you today, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Because yes, this is a news show, but it's also a conversation. Now keep that conversation going, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and do all the good stuff that does help that YouTube algorithm. But ultimately, my name is Kieran Mack. You've been listening to the Thai Expat Daily Show, and we will see you next time.